Hello everybody, I'm Alice Blue, and welcome to Embers Adrift Patch Notes. Now I was away on vacation for a while, so I'll have to get caught up on the last two before this one. Anyways, we'll get caught up on those later, probably tomorrow. I'm pretty excited to see what's been going on. A lot can happen in a week and a half. Anyways, so Wednesday, July 13th. As usual, meeting in Discord at 8 p.m. Central. Have a little chat with the devs and make sure this patch doesn't have any crazy bugs before the weekend. What's new? This week, we're bringing you a slew of updates, including vegetation improvements, rendering optimizations, camera fixes, and design changes. Guess who's back? Back again. Adrift's back. I'm telling all my friends. Bug fixes and improvements. Tech. Upgraded vegetation shaders, optimized grass shaders, improvements to grass materials for more realistic movement and interactions. Player characters will interact with grass as they move through it. This functionality will likely come to NPCs in the near future. Fixed an issue where positive overtime effects would show as negative after zoning. Internal armor cost calculations are now integers instead of floats. This should resolve rounding issues. Ground torches now begin sinking into the ground when they have about 20% duration remaining. That's cool. This is meant to provide a visual indicator that it's nearing expiration. You should consider dropping another. There is currently an issue causing the torch to pop upwards when it starts sinking, but I'll get that fixed for next week. Camera improvements. Adjusted collision parameters. Adjusted collision parameters to avoid issues in tight spaces. I found another Unity bug which breaks the transition from the middle to top right. For whatever reason, the camera decides to move towards the subject when it should not during the transition if certain smoothing parameters are enabled. If the camera movement was fast enough, the camera actually moved through and past your avatar, which caused your player to turn around before the camera corrected itself. These parameters have been disabled for now, which means that camera collision corrections can make things a bit jerkier, but it should no longer invert on itself. Unity has already recognized that this is a bug, so hopefully we will have a fix within the next few weeks. When the camera is over water, we now adjust the bottom rigs so that the camera can no longer go below the water's surface. Up and down positions are now reset on initialization in addition to the left and right position. Let me know if this resolves the issue where the camera would initialize looking up or down. Zoom level of camera is saved and restored between sessions. Environment and art. Disabled vegetation billboards for smaller objects such as seedlings, saplings, and bushes. This should reduce performance overhead of the vegetation system. Adjusted tree billboard colors. More billboard improvements are on their way in the coming weeks. Large red shore tree stumps are now tinted to better match the surrounding trees. Isolated some props in Dryfoot so that they only show in either Dryfoot or Dryfoot Stronghold, depending on which zone your character has loaded. This should slightly reduce rendering overhead. Fixed some LOD position issues on some props. Fixed tree rendering layers in Dryfoot. Your camera should consider, really? Your camera should not consider the trees obstacles in this zone. UI improved the readability of the /time command. It now only shows in-game time. Hey, I liked having my clock, thank you. Added current season to the time command. Added the current ping, game time, and season to the globe icon tooltip, upper right chat windows. Fixed exception in the crafting UI that could cause issues with item counts not properly updating. Design. Fixed skinning level on some boars and wolfsbane. Fixed quillbacks forgetting how to use some abilities. You broke the quillbacks. Fixed jewelry missing imbued title when made with flux. Yosef's hatchet is now usable by all who can use hatchets. Level 5 and 15 mushroom potion recipes are returned to the recipe merchant. Crafting experience reduced for recipes which use fewer resources. Updated naming around herbal tea components to avoid some confusion. To make tea, you need crushed tea leaves, which is a refined material. Chitin and full plate are swapped for which is heaviest. Order of armor weight is now leather, scale, half plate, chitin, and full plate. Increased diversity of some creature stats and resist. Open wound procs now bypass armor absorption. Execute modified to rely more heavily on the target reduced health amount. The ability should be relatively weak when used on healthy targets and quite strong on low targets. First pass at Red Shore Automation completed. New stuff, seasonal variations. Now that we have finalized our move to Unity 2021, we are starting to tinker with features previously not utilized. The first of which is seasonal variations for vegetation. With this patch, you will start to notice subtle changes to the vegetation as the seasons pass. Over the course of an in-game year, roughly 28 days in real time, deciduous trees will lose their leaves, the hue on vegetation will brown, and crops will grow and shrink. These changes are meant to be subtle and just add a bit to the visual variety of the zones. The framework we are building for these changes also paves the way for the eventual implementation of snow, rain, and other weather effects. Here's a quick and dirty video of this in action. Keep an eye out for these subtle changes. Deciduous trees in the background losing and gaining their leaves. Wheat and flowers shrink then grow. Foliage and ground hue changes subtly over time. This is me crudely adjusting the season by hand for demonstration purposes only. This effect will happen over the course of 28 real-life days. Notes: distant tree billboards are not impacted by these changes. We hope to correct this in the future with improved billboards. Some vegetation may interact too much, let us know. Currently, the blue flowers around ember rings move a bit much, while some bushes do not move at all. Works in progress. Zones. 3 additional overland zones have had an initial art pass completed. Grizzly Peaks, accessed via Highlands, Red Shore, and Gorge, mountainous region with a number of tunnels. High level range 40 to 50, has a one-way exit to New Haven North. This is the snow-capped mountains you can see from Red Shore. Highlands, accessed via Meadowlands, hilly region with sparse vegetation and water features. Mid-level range, approximately 30 to 40, likely to come after Red Shore and Grizzly. Gorge, accessed via Dryfoot, large canyon-like area, approximately 30 to 40, likely to come after Red Shore and Grizzle. New Haven City initial art pass has been completed for some time. We are now starting internal testing for a limited area. We will be moving bank, crafting stations, merchants, etc. into this zone at some point in the near future. Dungeons. Prefab reorg is complete. The New Haven Dungeon Central Veins has been delivered and spawning templates have begun being worked on. NPCs. Most NPCs have been converted to a universal model that includes the base and Ashen variants. This brings us one step closer to getting the Ashen variants in the game. They are currently awaiting a visual effects and lighting pass. Design discussions regarding how to spawn Ashen creatures have been had, and we are excited for the direction this is headed. Quests. A number of quests are in the queue for implementation and testing. Internal quest design tool is nearly complete. We are still ironing out the implementation details for content, but once this is complete, we can start testing content. Yay! Tech, NPC improvements and NPC merchants, UI, quest dialogue redesign, tooltip improvements, new clothing and armor still in the works. Currently being worked on is scale armor visuals. Crafting to-do list to be implemented soon. Quality determines the final durability. More organized recipe merchants. Crafting and harvesting specializations. Reagent upgrade system. Timeline. After dungeon spawn templates and ashen spawning, Ember Essence collection and spending is next up on the docket of things to do after getting the new dungeons up and running. The first step for getting this in will be allowing you to collect Ember Essence, which will be followed by spending Ember Essence on Ember monoliths, reagent upgrades, etc. After our recent internal discussions around ashen creatures, we have bumped the priority of this item to be after we get them online. These two will happen relatively quickly in succession, so the delay is not as much as it might seem. New servers, timeline 1 to 3 weeks. Over the past few weeks, I have been receiving shipments of new server hardware. The first of such machines has been built. The OS has been installed, and I am now moving on to the software config. Right now, we have a single 1U server at the data center, which is connected directly to the internet software firewall. Adding a new server requires us to install a router, which leads to a complete reconfiguration of our internal network. When that time comes, expect a short testing week. Servers will likely be down Monday and Tuesday to give me additional time to get the server physically installed, along with any networking and software configuration changes required. Known issues. Terrain textures have a bit too much tiling. This will be resolved shortly. Character creation and editing camera on Apple and Mac is bugged. I isolated the issue and submitted a bug report with Unity. Still waiting to hear back. Not all Ember Rings or points of interest are proper map discoveries. This is especially true in Dryfoot Stronghold, and Red Shore discoveries, and map uncovering is a work in progress and will be revisited soon. Tooltip positions are off for shorter tooltips on the right side of the screen. Zooming the camera while holding the right mouse button on a Mac can cause your chat window to scroll. This is not intended. Deconstructing crafted items returns junk 100% of the time. You cannot roll on loot while unconscious. Not all clothing and armor has visuals. Dragging the group nameplate window could potentially set it wrong, and it will just get a little bit weird for a minute. Typing chat text may occasionally become invisible. Unfocus your chat window and try again. Sometimes, when you respawn, you don't end up the proper Ember Ring. If this happens, report the position where you died via the report command. So that's the patch notes. I like the idea of seasons, and so I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna be cool. I wonder if we're gonna have seasonal mobs or seasonal bosses. Things that only spawn in, you know, the summertime or the springtime or whatever. Or maybe they only spawn when it's raining. I'm gonna have to mention that one to Drundin. Anyways, thank you for watching, and hope you have a lovely, lovely week.